It is so good to see you all, and welcome in Shane and also our wonderful guest, Dr. Chen Li. Hello.
Hey Alex, how are we?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm good, I'm good. It's Friday and this Game on Cancer Day is here and we've got Chen here as well.
Oh, I'm
Lots of
so
people in chat already, I can see. Hello everyone.
welcome in everyone. It's so good to see you all. All right, I'm going to pass over to Shane to do our lovely introductions for everyone here today.
Thanks a lot, Alex. Welcome, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name's Shane. I'm the head of gaming and streaming at Cure Cancer. I'm stoked because today, Friday the 24th of March, is the kickoff of our very first Game on Cancer Day campaign, a brand new campaign under our Game on Cancer initiative. Obviously, we are here to unite the gaming community and support vital cancer research. The researchers that Cure Cancer, our organisation, our charity, has been funding for the past 56 years. So welcome on in. This is our Game on Cancer Twitch channel. You might see us here playing games often, but today we have a different kind of stream, which I'm so excited about. Firstly, I'm going to pass it over to Alex to let her introduce herself because she's only relatively new to the team, and this might be the first time that you're seeing her.
Oh, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Alexandra Lynne. I am the Gaming and Fundraising Executive here at Cure Cancer and Game on Cancer. My role essentially is to work with creators like a lot of you who are watching today, as well as work on our social media and also a lot of our campaigns for fundraising. And obviously the fun things like conduct these interviews. So it's great to be here. But I am so excited to be talking to you, Dr. Chen Li. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. Good morning. I'm Dr. Chen Li. I'm currently a senior research mathematician at Monash University. So I finished my PhD in 2016, so it's been 7 years. And my current research area is system biology and bioinformatics. It's my great privilege to be invited to this first ever campaign, and just like it's just such a exciting thing to talk about scientific research with all of you. I look forward to the fantastic discussion hours.
Amazing. Thank you, Chen. Yeah, we're so pleased to have you here. We'll do a bit of housekeeping first before we dive into the interview itself. So for those of you who don't know, I haven't seen on Game on Cancer's social channels, Game on Cancer Day is a brand new campaign that we're kicking off. We hope it'll be an annual campaign as well that we can replicate year on year and keep growing and use to fund amazing cancer researchers like Chen. What's great about this particular campaign, this inaugural campaign, is that all the fundraising from this year will go to support Chen's research, which is why he's here today to talk about it. If you'd like to donate, we have a fundraising thermometer down the bottom there. !donate in the chat will take you to the Tiltify page and you can donate as well. We also have an auction running with some fantastic prizes donated from some of our partners, one of which is right behind Alex, a amazing Call of Duty Ghost Cartel neon light from the fantastic team at Kings of Neon. They've been supporting Game on Cancer for some time now, and we're really thrilled to have them back on board and donating this incredible Call of Duty light. Alex, it's amazing in your background.
Oh, I honestly, when I first received the light from Kings of Neon, I did not anticipate it to be this big. And if it's okay, I'd love to flick over to a scene just to show off the light really quickly. I just want to show this light. Look at this. It is gorgeous. This is stunning. If you were to win this, or if you were to bid on this, I feel like you would be incredibly lucky. But thank you so much to the team over at Kings of Neon for providing us this light so we can show it off here today. It is so lovely. But yes, no, thank you so much, Shane, for introducing Game on Cancer Day. It is so fun. I'm very excited. Over the weekend, we'll have a bunch of streamers who are going to be fundraising for us for a very vital cause. But yeah, I'm genuinely very keen to get it kicked off with this interview today. So
100%.
Why don't we get started? I would love to ask Dr. Chen Li, how did you become interested in cancer research as a career?
Yeah, that's actually a good question, because I've been asked this question by a lot of people, to be honest, because, I actually experienced a really, really long journey till now, because I actually was a computer scientist by training. So actually, I finished my computer degrees back in China a lot of years ago. And I realized that I probably had to do something more useful, more good to the social benefit. So I think maybe, I should use my techniques to analyze maybe health data, maybe clinical data or biomedical data. And then that's why I came here to finish my PhD in bioinformatics. And after that, I realized, okay, so cancer has been a really one of the biggest health threats to human. And there are lots of things to be addressed. And so many people have diagnosed with cancer like every year, like every day, every second. So I realized that I must use my skill sets to do something that I can try my best to help those people and to build a better and healthier future.
Amazing. Thank you, Chen. I will quickly say that if anyone has any questions for Chen that they'd like to ask him in the chat, please do. We'll take note of those, and there'll be a moment at the end or towards the end of the stream for Chen to answer those questions. So please get them in there. We have plenty more already that we want to ask him. You mentioned bioinformatics. You're a bioinformatician, Chen. This is combining computer science and biology. I'm wondering if you could talk more about that. And yeah, for those who don't know what bioinformatics are, how can you explain it?
Yeah, sure. I remember when I first time introduced to when I was in the church, I was talking with different people, and people asked me like, "What's your major in the university?" I said, "It's bioinformatics," and without a doubt, no exception, only everyone was actually asking what bioinformatics is. It's actually a little bit. It took me several minutes to explain what it is. I was trying to make that easy as possible. So bioinformatics, as you can see from the word, is actually a biology and informatics. It's a combination of biology and informatics. So, as you know, we have now more advanced equipment in the lab, and we can build so much data every second, every day, every week. But the problem is, we have so many data accumulated, but no one can actually effectively get something useful from them. Huge amount of data generated. So that's why we have bioinformatics discipline, this area. So we develop different skills from artificial intelligence, from machine learning, from statistics. All these skills combined together, and will be applied to mine biological data effectively. So we want to get something useful, some patterns, for example, from this data, and then we can then test the data back in the lab, and we can verify our biological hypothesis, so we can move forward either with disease treatment or some very fundamental mechanism studies in biology.
Yeah, wow. That is really interesting. That's a lot. My goodness. Thank you for explaining that. I feel like you explained that very well.
Oh I hope I made that clear.
No, that was perfect. It was very articulate of you, and it was great. No, thank you so much. I really wanted to, for those of you who don't know, Dr. Chen Li, his research is focused on triple negative breast cancer. So I would love to know what got you to focus on triple negative breast cancer. I know we spoke about this earlier, but I'd love to know your thoughts.
Yeah, there are so many different kinds of cancers, and among breast cancer, to be honest, the triple negative breast cancer is actually one of the most aggressive cancer type in breast cancer, because the cancer has a faster growth rate and higher risk of metastasis and the recurrence risk. So we targeted it because we want to go with the most aggressive cancer, and we want to propose to try our best to propose the actionable solutions to it. And the other reason is actually our lab has a solid research foundations, research expertise in triple negative breast cancer. And we publish a lot of papers for triple negative breast cancer in terms of immunology, in terms of cancer antigens. So based on that, I think choosing triple negative breast cancer is probably the most feasible research plan for our lab.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Chen. And what are some of the risks and the challenges of triple negative breast cancer? Like, I think for a lot of people out there, they've certainly heard of breast cancer, but maybe not have heard of this really deadly form of triple negative breast cancer. So yeah, what are those differences and the challenges you face?
Yeah, so before that, I want to first simply explain what triple negative means here in breast cancer. So basically, we have like 3 basic proteins that can be a very interesting biomarkers to test whether it's breast cancer or not. But interestingly, in triple negative breast cancer cells, we can't really find these 3 biomarkers. So that's why we say, okay, this is triple negative. So triple negative means that we can't find the 3 proteins in these cancer cells, which means actually this specific cancer type is harder to be detected and harder to be stratified. So as I said, so triple-negative breast cancer has a really, really fast growth rate. It can develop really fast. It can make people sick really quickly. And we also had a high risk of metastasis. So a lot of people actually had the cancer returned back, had a cancer spread to the whole body, and the cancer, and also had a cancer back really quickly. So I'm now in 2 social media groups specifically for triple-negative breast cancers, one on Facebook and one on Twitter, I guess. So basically, we can see the new post every day from patients all over the world discussing the cancer recurrence, and also the spreading of the cancer to different part of the body. So we realized that it's a really, really significant problem that bothers most of the patients. And our aim is to use our skill sets to understand the metastasis and understand why the cancer can be back so quickly. So that's actually another purpose of this research as well.
Yeah, wow. No, thank you so much for sharing that. And you mentioned that there's a Facebook group for that. I'm gonna go a little bit off track here. Do you find that you talk to many people in the community through that Facebook group there? And with that, do you also find that they talk about any of the other associated risks with triple-negative breast cancer?
Yeah, so basically, I think this is a group for patients, actually, patients and their relatives. That basically they are discussing how to take care of the patient, for example, and discussing how to discuss the examination results, for example, and also discuss what kind of drugs your doctor prescribed to you. I think this is a really, really nice community where everyone can share their concerns, their depressions, and their hope even sometimes. Every time I receive so many messages on the Facebook page, and for most of the discussion, they just talk mainly about recurrence and metastasis. That's the major 2 risks they talk about. And they also talk about how fast the cancer can grow, which is actually such a big concern in these patients as well. They also talk about some examinations, some how to interpret the examination reports, something like that. I have to say that I have learned a lot. I do have to say that I learned a lot, and also I understand the concerns of the patients, and from patients' perspective and their relatives' perspective. So I have to say that this is a really, really good opportunity for me to understand how serious this can be and how seriously this can affect normal people's life.
Yeah, amazing, Chen. Yeah, it's always great to connect with, the people who are obviously suffering from cancer, and particularly the type that you're working on. I want to talk more about the research that you're conducting this year. This is the first year that Cure Cancer is funding your research, and we're really excited to be able to do so. And here's hoping the funds that you raise as part of this campaign can continue that into the future. But tell us more about the type of research that you're focusing on this year and what you hope to achieve.
Yeah, actually, I will try to make that as easy as possible to understand. There's a lot of scientific terms. I want to just maybe don't talk about that a lot, but yeah. So basically, we are actually targeting the immunity aspect of the cancer, because our lab is working on sort of a cell immunology and also antigen processing and presentation. So this is really, really huge question, because when we talk about normal cells, not cancerous cells, we talk about normal cells, they keep communicating with outside environment constantly. So how do they do that? They actually present part of the protein. They present some of the small amino acids, peptides, actually out of to the cell surface. And then these peptides served as a message, as a messenger to the T cells. T cells is actually it's actually the police in your body, right? So to keep cruising around your body and see what's going on, what's wrong with this cell, is everything okay in this environment? So the cell can actually tell something to the police. Look, everything fine with me, so there's nothing to worry about. But the problem is when the cell become cancerous, so it's going to be problematic, because it has problem telling the police that something wrong with me. You have to kill me, or you have to take some actions. Otherwise, I would keep growing, and this gonna kill kill the body. So we actually, in terms of this, actually, we did several research in our lab, and we use cytokine, which is actually a protein, very interesting protein to stimulate, to treat this kind of cancerous cells, breast cancer cells. And then we found that after we use these proteins, after we use some dosage of these cytokines, it can present, the cancerous cells can present something really interesting to the T cell. So previously, probably the cell can't tell you something useful, even though it has become cancerous already. But now it can tell you something useful, which is really nice, because if our immune system can monitor that, can be aware of that, that's a really, really, really good thing, because it means that the immune system can take good actions to either kill the cell or do something to prevent the cell from growing. So we have that results already, but deep down, we don't really know how these different peptides, different messages can be presented to the cell surface. This leads to my research. So my research is to see on the deeper level and see what kind of proteins and protein machineries behind this thing, to how they process the peptides, how they were affected, and to lead to the different presentations of these small peptides to the cell surface. So by understanding that, we can use these protein complexes, protein machineries as a biomarker to stratify and to see stratify different patients, for example, and also to see whether the treatment is effective or not, or how we're going to trigger that to make the therapy efficient, for example. So this can lead to a lot of potential good applications. So this is something brief about my research.
Amazing. Sorry, Alex, I'm going to jump in here and just go off track. I know you have the next question.
No,
but,
go for it.
Chen has said something really interesting. I thank you so much for that explanation. I think we can
Yes.
I clearly now understand why bioinformatics is, I suppose the best option for you in your research too, because you spoke about deconstructing essentially the biology of these peptides and then using that information, computer science, to understand that. That's really cool. We don't have this as a question, Chen, but I'm wondering, you mentioned the immune system. I know a huge component of your research is tied to immunotherapy, and it's a term that's thrown around as as a popular, a growing, popular treatment for cancers and cancer patients. Can you speak just, I suppose, plainly to immunotherapy? If there's anyone in the audience who might not understand what that is, if you could describe that to them.
So basically, when we talk about the treatment for triple-negative breast cancers, nowadays the most common one would be this surgery and also the chemotherapy, which can be useful in the beginning, but most of the patients won't be sensitive to that afterwards. So that's why the mortality rate is super high for these specific cancer types. So besides, we've been thinking, the whole scientific research community been thinking, besides current chemotherapy and surgery, what else we can do? So there are several options, to be honest. One is the immunotherapy that we were just talking about. So immunotherapy is actually it's a very good strategy. The reason that I like it is because it's actually triggered your own immune system to tackle the cancer. We use different ways. For example, if you remember what I just said, we use cytokines. We use cytokines to stimulate the cell, so we stimulate the peptide presentation to the cell surface, and then these signals can be transferred to T cells, to our immune system. So our immune system will be we'll be able to know, okay, so these cells is getting trouble. So we use all different kinds of things to stimulate this kind of peptide presentation to the cell surface. So that is actually part of the spirit of immunotherapy. So, for example, we recently see a lot of online news that, for example, some research institute reported that COVID-19 can cure some cancers even, which is really interesting. That's actually part of the immunotherapy mechanism as well, because when you get COVID, for example, your immune system is super sensitive because you have to react to that and kill that. But a good side effect of the triggering of this immune system is actually it can, by the way, it can actually detect the cancer cells because it's a super triggered, it's super sensitive now because of COVID. So this is actually very amazing finding. So actually that's why immunotherapy is actually becoming really, really promising option at the moment. So the other thing is more of a prevention from professional perspective, that is vaccine we're talking about. So, you know, we all have like a COVID, for example, vaccinations. So the vaccination works like, you know, you give some peptides that can trigger your T cell immune response, right? So this immune response can then go through the whole body and find peptides, find the cells that with the similar peptides presented. So vaccines for triple negative cancer is another great option to go. So we hope we can find some really good vaccines to prevent triple negative breast cancer in advance so that people won't suffer from that later.
Amazing. Thank you, Chen. Sorry, Alex, I hijacked that. Your question next.
That's genuinely, that was very, like, that was so interesting to hear. No, thank you for sharing that. And also thank you for diving into how vaccines could help as well. That's genuinely, like, really wonderful. I was going to ask you what the impact of your research could have for people and who will be affected by the triple negative breast cancer, like who would be impacted by your research. But I almost feel like you've kind of gone over that. But if you have anything else to add to that, I would love to hear it.
Yeah, sure. We just want to, like I said, I would just want to I want to dive deep into the mechanism and why the cancer cells now, because of the cytokine stimulation, the cell can now report something interesting to the immune system. So if this mechanism is revealed, that we can reveal this, for example, we can get to know what this mechanism is, and we can use that actually to stratify patients. We can stratify the drug effects. We can do a lot of other things. So we have a better understanding of the deeper mechanism of triple negative breast cancer, and then we can provide something useful to immunotherapy development.
Awesome. Thank you, Chen. Let's go back to the funding now. Like we mentioned earlier, this is the first year that Cure Cancer is funding your research, and all the fundraising from Game On Cancer Day will go towards continuing that. What does it mean to receive funding as an early career cancer research in particular? Obviously, we know that, you know, very small amount of research grant applications in Australia receive funding. I think the last stat we had was about 5% of all applications. So I would love for you to speak to that. What does it mean to secure funding as someone who's pursuing this research? Yeah,
first of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to Cure Cancer Australia and all our donors for the donations to enable me to do my research, because this is really important. Nowadays, because of the financial situation, and we do have some difficulties in this kind of a supporting scientific research, and any support, as it doesn't really matter how small it is meaningful, is useful, is critical to scientific research. We need this kind of support. So to me personally, is one of the most rewarding experience that I have with Cure Cancer. I spent a lot of time writing applications, proposals, and try to communicate with my consumer supporters, advocates. So it's kind of really rewarding to receive the successful the notification that I'm being successful supported. So this support enables me this year, in personal perspective, to do lab work, because as I said, I'm a bioinformatician. I rarely appears in the lab. So that's how sometimes when everyone saw me in the lab, the first question is, Chen, are you lost? I would say no, because, you know, if I was lost, I wouldn't be wearing a lab coat and be lost, right, at the same time. So yeah, my just because, you know, I've never done experiment before, but as you know, bioinformatics alone perhaps is not sufficient to tackle biological questions. You need to do experiment. You need to get your hands dirty in the lab, so that you will be able to know what is the mechanism behind that. So speaking of which, actually, cure cancer, or this support from cure cancer success, just so meaningful because it supports me, it enables me to do the fantastic experimental work in the lab. So, and also develop the experimental skill sets together with my computational skill sets. So I can, this totally can help me, my career take off. This is really, really important to me and to our lab.
Amazing. I see a bunch of links go up in the chat as well. So if you head on over to our website, curecancer.com.au, and navigate over to researchers, you can learn even more about Dr. Chen Li's research and all the other researchers that we're funding this year. You can also take a look back at some of the researchers we've funded in the past as well. Yeah, keep the questions coming in the chat, guys. Yeah, we'll have an opportunity to hopefully answer those towards the end of the stream.
Yes, genuinely. There are so many good questions popping up in chat at the moment. I'm actually quite excited to get to those towards the end. But thank you for your answer about the Cure Cancer grants. I'm so happy to hear that it's been beneficial to your research. I would love to know, have you ever worked with any other Cure Cancer researchers before?
Unfortunately not, I have to say. So because I'm just be in this specific area not for very long time. So I do know that a lot of fantastic researchers, I do Google, to be honest. I Google a lot when I saw different pages on the website and about all these people that have been supported by Cure Cancer Australia. I have to say that they've done really good scientific research in terms of cancer mechanisms and treatment. But as I said, I haven't, unfortunately, been working with any of the Cure Cancer researchers before, but definitely I'm looking forward to working with them in the near future.
Nice. Yeah, I know that particularly a lot of our researchers collaborate with counterparts overseas, even in other research institutes, and they're all working together on their same projects to obviously deliver the best result they can, which is amazing. What are the most rewarding aspects of your job, Chen? Obviously, you're working on something that could potentially have a huge impact on humanity in the world and do such great good for cancer patients worldwide. So I would love to hear more about what you find most rewarding.
So there are several things that I can say about the rewarding experience that I have for my job. So as a bioinformatician, I can say the most rewarding experience is that when you see some big papers that used your software, used your database to help them identify key things, and so that they can test them in the lab, and then they were successful. So this is actually the exact value of a bioinformatician or a bioinformatics research tool, right? So you have this software, you have this database, you must let people use it. And people use it, people give you feedback, and then people can learn something interesting and something absolutely fantastic from your database and your software. And they can go back to the lab and test them and say, look, oh, because of these, we narrowed down our list. We can now have a highly confident candidates to test in the lab. And then we are successful. This is that's probably the most rewarding experience that I have. So I usually tracked the citations of my previous published papers, and I found, oh, some of the papers, oh, these papers used my software, and they find something interesting, and they move forward just because my software, because they use these candidates to test. So this is very, very fantastic experience. Another thing that I want to say about rewarding experience is actually I enjoy communication and help people understand science a lot. When people can understand what I'm saying, when people can understand, I say, Chen, I finally understand that this is this is how cancer cells works. This is how our immune response works. I feel so happy about that. So I usually, for example, I usually call my mom and call my parents. Sometimes my parents were so curious about what I'm doing in the university, and I try to explain this to them. And of course, they didn't basically understand most of the things, but so that's triggered me. That's actually pushed me to explain this in a very, very light term and use metaphors and some other things as much as I can just to explain that in a clearer way. And every time after I explained it, my mom said, "Ah, I understand how it works now. Okay, so that makes sense now." I feel very rewarding because as a scientist, I think part of our social responsibility is to let the public know what science is and why this should be working and why that way shouldn't be working, just to give people a correct sense of science. I think that's the most important thing, and it's the very, very important responsibility for us as a scientist.
Yeah, wow. No, thank you for sharing that. I'm so glad that you've found so many aspects that are rewarding of your role as a researcher, especially for cure cancer. That's genuinely so wonderful to hear. I would love to know as well, what are your hopes for the future of cancer research? Did you have anything in mind?
Yeah, so before I started actually this cancer research project, I've been reading so many cancer research papers and a lot of studies. I have to say that a lot of studies are really exciting, and they it seems that we keep moving forward to better cure our treatment for cancer. But I would say a lot of researchers, a lot of studies, not very reproducible at the moment. So I would say in the future, I hope more and more research will be reproducible, repeatable in the lab, so that people can do independent research, independent experiment to test the results and then develop new technologies based on the results they can test. Another thing is we need more actionable targets. We need more reliable and actionable drug targets and the biomarkers in cancer research. Now, even though we have so many cancer research outcomes every day, but still, like for cancer diagnosis, for example, we still have a limited number of reliable biomarkers. We do propose some of the biomarkers, but some of them can't pass with independent search, independent experiment, independent test. So we really need more of these as a great way of prevention, so that less and less people will suffer from cancer after that.
Awesome. Thanks, Chen. Yeah, that's very admirable. Let's deviate away a bit from your research and life in the lab. What do you like to do outside of research? What keeps you busy? If you're not focused on your work, what's Chen's day look like?
I have to say I'm a quite boring person, to be honest, in a lot of ways, to be honest. But definitely I would keep myself busy outside research as well. There are a lot of things I can do. I usually do. I love watching movies, especially horror movies and science fiction movies. But I have to say that a lot of science fiction movies are just like not that realistic at all, because
is your science mind picking them apart as you watch them?
Yeah, because I'm working in the lab every day and I know exactly what lab looks like, and all these kind of things. A lot of things in science fiction movies that doesn't make sense at all, but I do enjoy watching them anyway. And also I love music as well. I do sing a lot of karaoke when I'm free.
Oh,
and also
next time I'm in Melbourne.
You know what we're doing.
We do have a lot of fantastic karaoke's here, and I also recently I developed a new interest. I guess I love opera a lot. Wow. I heard a lot actually in my spare time. I feel that very relaxing, to be honest. And another thing that I would do is hiking if the weather and time allows, because so I remember when I was in Zurich, I went to hike with my colleagues like for 24 kilometers, like 30 kilometers a day.
Wow.
It was really nice. I have to say it's really refreshing, to be honest, because I have realized that focus on research is good, but you have to get some time to refresh your brain. This will help you to think much better, your scientific question much better. So yeah, I just want to keep myself as distracted as possible by all this kind of thing outside research, just so that I can go back to research more energetically.
100%. It's always good to disconnect. Now, our Game on Cancer's asked the question in chat, and I need to know your go-to karaoke song. Me personally, I'm a fan of Frankie Valli, Four Seasons. Can't take my eyes off of you.
Good song.
made famous by Heath Ledger in 10 Things I Hate About You. But what's your go-to karaoke song, Chen? Do you have a playlist like myself?
Oh, I remember that, I don't really have a specific song, signature song that I want to sing in karaoke. I'm just like whatever song I can sing. And
Cool.
one of the probably the most interesting experience is actually, can you imagine like me and my male friends, like we just sing My Heart Will Go On, like for several times.
That's
And-
a
and then
It's on
banger.
repeat.
and actually, yes, I think it's more of for entertainment anyway. And we also did some other songs, for example, like all these kind of like pop songs. And I love, for example, I have so many my favorite. I have so many singers that I like, and Ed Sheeran, for example, and some other like what is called Harry Styles.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
we
and
love that.
yeah, and yeah, we actually sing a lot of songs that most of them that doesn't really make sense anyway. But we just sing songs for fun anyway.
Nice. Harry's House, his latest album, is usually playing on the Bluetooth speaker in the office at work, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
A
quite-
few
quite
people
the
in the office
bangers.
are a fan of it. It's
Yeah.
such a good album. It's so good.
Oh, they're great.
I love that album.
Yeah, so good.
What about you, Alex? Any go-to?
Oh, I'm an Alicia Keys girl. I will bang out some Alicia Keys, absolutely. And any good Taylor Swift. I'm a fan, honestly. But no, I'm much the same. Anything that's in the pop realm, I think makes for good karaoke. But we'll definitely have to do that next time we're in Melbourne. Chen, you know we're coming for you.
100%.
Sure,
we
no
have to fly
problem,
down
something.
early before
Yeah, no
PAX
problem.
and get a couple of nights in or something like that. Infinite Aura in chat. Yeah, the Backstreet Boys. Anything for Backstreet Boys.
Backstreet
also.
Boys
Yes.
and Westlife and
Yes,
all this.
five.
S
Five?
Club 7.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
throwing
yeah,
it back.
Yeah, I
This is
can
now a
see a lot.
karaoke Twitch channel.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. Well, one good thing is that because I'm living alone, so I usually have a lot of mini concert by myself when I'm at night, just because I don't really need other people to hear. I don't want to embarrass myself, but I think one of the best thing of living alone is actually you can have as many as private concerts as you want.
Private.
Actually.
It's
actually-
Yeah, you definitely don't want other people to hear, but it's actually a good thing for you to relax. I think I found singing is kind of a really good way to relax yourself.
It is.
Nice.
It definitely is. I almost went into music therapy, and genuinely it is very helpful in so many different ways. So yes, it's very cathartic in some sense.
Highly recommend.
Someone take a note down. We're going to have to get all of our researchers together in one city at one time for a karaoke night. That's some top content opportunities right there.
Forget your research is a wonderful title. Yeah. Well, we say so. We have a very interesting like a regular event here at Monash. It's called Escape Lab. So
right.
it's really nice. Yeah, that's a really nice scheme.
Love that. Well, I feel like I would love to do a little bit of a change of pace for a moment and talk about early career research, if that's okay. I wanted to ask you, how do you think institutions can be more supportive of early career researchers? I know securing funding can be quite difficult for early career researchers, so I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, there are actually a lot of things that I think one institute can do. For example, like at Monash, at the Biomedicine Discovery Institute here where I'm working. So basically, we have lots of things that like workshops, like mentorship to provide by the institute. So I think one thing that's most important, one first thing that came to my mind is actually the mentorship. So as a early career, you're going to experience a lot of difficulties in terms of everything. Like in terms of publishing, in terms of funding application, in terms of all the other stuff in the lab or your work, like your daily work, you do really need someone to talk first and to provide some useful experience or useful lessons to you. Sometimes I do find that, for example, my mentor, which is the head of my lab, I found him really kind enough to teach me all these kind of things. So I remember that one day that I suddenly found something wrong in my programs, something I just panic a lot. And I say, look, I'll have to talk to my boss and say how it's going to be solved. Like I rushed into his office and talk about these kind of things. And my supervisor was super calm down, like say, look, Chen, that's fine. And just tell me what the problem was, and then we can find a solution to that. And after 5 minutes or 10 minutes talk, I felt totally calm down. And I say, okay, I know what to do. I know how to fix that. And I know how to avoid that in the future. So with this type of this experienced mentor, you can actually learn how to deal with all these difficulties, deal with these challenges, and you can learn how to manage your mood, how to manage your time. So it's a very important thing. And a good mentor doesn't need to be your supervisor. It can be from someone outside, from someone from other groups. So that's actually why we have that kind of mentorship program in the institute. Another thing I think is very useful is actually the workshops. We have a variety of workshops here. So for example, we have grant application, we have scientific communication workshops, which is really important. I personally think the scientific communication workshop is really useful because it gives you the chance to talk about your science with people from public. This is really important. This is how actually I explain my research. This is actually because of the kind of workshop like that, I learned the skills how to explain my research to my consumer advocates. So I think that can be very useful. So two things, mentorship and a variety of workshops.
100%. Yeah, I see Else in chat has noted, I would be nowhere if I didn't have a good boss for my first job. Need mentorship to get going. 100%. You know, I've had many fantastic supporters, particularly professionally in my career that have helped me get to where I am today. So I imagine it's the same for you, Chen.
I have to say that there can be a toxic relationship in the lab, and there can be a lot of personal conflict in the lab as well. So the kind of interpersonal communicational skills kind of be very important, and a responsible boss or responsible mentor should be able to deal with all these kind of things. So luckily our lab is quite a nice lab. Everyone is working well with each other, so that's actually the thing that I enjoy in the lab. So we do now from periodically from time to time we do have some conflicts where people are open enough to talk about that, and to talk about even with the mentor, so we can actually solve that as quick as we can, so that it won't be a bigger problem in the future.
Yeah, 100%. I think just to I suppose hammer home the importance of mentorship. It's something that Cure Cancer really focuses on as well. You know, we have a huge community of alumni of past researchers that we've funded and currently that we're funding that are able to, you know, share expertise. We have an annual symposium, which is an opportunity for them to come together and share ideas and learn from one another, which is, like you said, is really important. I suppose even more important for what would be such a small community, right? Like we speak about how difficult it is to secure funding for cancer researchers. So there's only so many in the world that you can share ideas with. So,
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. And I suppose there was one question that popped up in the chat earlier, and we already had it noted down as well. But other than, you know, securing funding, Chen, what would you say is the greatest challenge that you face as an early career researcher? Is there anything that jumps to mind?
Yeah, there are a lot of things I can think about, but the first thing came to my mind is the increased competition in this area. So, for example, we can think about this topic. We can think about topic in my proposal that when I do this, everyone else can think about the same project as well, because you know, in the publishing business, so basically you want to be the first one to tackle this problem. If you are not, it will be much harder for you to get your study published, unless you can claim that our research is much better than previous ones. So the increased competition is it has become a really big problem. Another thing that I found challenging is actually the work-life balance. This is really a common problem across the whole research community, because you know, we tend to overwork. We tend to work outside regular hours because of for example, we have experiments to take care of. For example, I'm culturing cancer cells in the lab. And if something wrong with the equipment, I have to come back and redo my experiment. So you can't just stop. You can't say, okay, I will leave it to tomorrow. No, your cell will be dying. So that's actually a lot of people. That's why a lot of people come to lab on Sundays. You can see a lot of people come back to lab on Sundays and during holidays even, which is even worse, to be honest. So we have to manage our time much better, because otherwise we'll be burned out really easily. So, and that is how, linking to the previous question, that is how we need to have a good mentor to help us how to manage our time efficiently.
Yeah, 100%. And I think this type of work attracts the type of person who is just so driven to make a difference, right? Like I what you've described, I see so much in a lot of the other researchers, and they're committed to making a difference. And sometimes it means if you waiting for a result that's going to come to fruition or come back from an overseas collaborator at like 2 o'clock in the morning, then you're there to to receive.
We try not to work overnight. That would be overly crazy. But I remember that they do have one time, just because of blackout. I was in the office. I think it was a bit late, but there was a blackout, and you could hear the alarming things like all over the lab, because the equipment just like was beeping all the time. And we have to do some emergency process. So basically we have to call, and then we have to go into lab using our phone as a torch and see what's going on, and how can we save as much as we can. Of course, we don't really have that. We don't have the blackout really frequently, but once it's happened, it can affect a lot. And people, sometimes people even have to come back to the office, like, even though it is very late already. But hopefully, well, luckily it's not happening very frequently, so that's good. But we as a biologist who does a lot of experimental work, this can happen like from time to time.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've gone through all of the questions that we had, so I might give a moment for chat to pop any questions in chat, and Alex, for you to collate them. In the meantime, we'd love to give a shout out to some people who've been donating during the live stream. In particular, Chris Johnson, $20. Thank you so much. Nikki donated $100, saying thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you very much.
We also have an anonymous donation for $10, and Watana Jr. $5 as well. A big supporter of the Game on Cancer.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for the donation.
Thank you for that.
Yes, definitely.
While we get some more of those questions together, I just want to give a couple of reminders. This is our first stream for Game On Cancer Day, a new annual campaign, and all of the fundraising that's going to be happening over this weekend from some pretty big creators will support the work of Dr. Chen Li, which is why he's here today to talk about his work. It's a new annual campaign. !donate will take you to our fundraising page. You can then navigate to the campaign and see all of the other creators who are signed up and will be supporting the fundraising this weekend. We also have an auction online as well with some fantastic prizes donated from our partners, including Kings of Neon, who have donated the Call of Duty neon light that you see behind Alex there. There's also a 75-inch QLED TV from TCL, so thank you to TCL for their generous donation. And we also have some signed merch from the team at Power. Lachlan, one of Australia's biggest YouTubers, has kindly donated some Power merch, which he has signed also. There are a couple of other prizes there. !auction in the chat will take you to that auction page. Alex, I might pass over to you, and we'll get to some more questions.
Yes, thank you. And thank you so much to our partners for joining us for this event this weekend. It's really wonderful, and always very thankful for the support. Alrighty, let's have a look at chat. Now, you guys posted a few questions earlier, which I have pulled, but I think we'll start with the ones that we have here recently. So let's start with A-Ray. I hope I got that right. Or Ray, sorry. What are the costs associated with cancer research aside from your precious time? It's a great question.
If you mean the financial costs, I would say that's going to be a lot. So that's why we need money, to be honest. Because, for example, we have a lot of like a mass spectrometer in the lab, so they are all very expensive, and we all know that. So I don't know exact money, but I do know that each time you want a technician to come and fix something, then takes thousands of money, like one trip.
I can imagine, yeah.
Yes, that's a lot. So that's why we want to save. We currently just do the experiment. We want to save as much as we can, but sometimes this kind of a fixing thing is inevitable. So we spend a lot, and we also spend a lot of money in chemicals, in equipment. For example, I'm gonna do the mass spectrometry experiments in the lab where I need a small column, like like 20 centimeters long or 10 centimeters long. So each column costs 3,000 Australian dollars, just 20 centimeters long column. So at least we need 2 or 3 just to test. We don't know that how many more we're going to need in the future. So each one costs 3,000. That's actually quite a lot. So I hope I can give you a basic impression that how costly experiment is. This is a very small part of the experiment, not to mention that we have so many big experiments coming on afterwards. So yes, it's very, very expensive.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. And thank you for providing us with that snapshot of what it can take to fund cancer research. It obviously it's quite a task. So we do appreciate you sharing that with us. Before I do jump into more chat questions, I wanted to thank Katrina. Thank you for the $20 donation. We
Thank you very
much appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Next question is from Domino Jack. Now, I think we might have answered this one a bit earlier about if you play video games, so I might leave that one. However, Domino Jack asks, how long has Dr. Chen Li been researching triple-negative breast cancer?
I'm actually new to it, to be honest, because actually I started investigating triple-negative cancers from last year. I would say beginning of last year, I would say. I quickly developed the basic sense of what this cancer is about and how serious this cancer can be. And I've been involved in different social media groups, as I mentioned. So I got very, very vivid, understanding, impression of this cancer type, because it's getting, based on my communication with these groups and the communication with my colleagues and as my advocates. I fully understand what this disease is and how serious disease can be, and how fatal this disease can be. That's basically helped me to understand 1 year, I would say 1 year, or a year or two. Just this time, just this period helped me understand this disease really well. I'm pretty new to it, but I'm excited that hopefully I would do something breakthrough in this for treatment and diagnosis of triple-negative breast cancer this year.
Yeah, definitely. We see 2 questions from Juxty in chat. First, he asked, what has been the most exciting moment so far during your time as a researcher? And then also, has the increased processing power for computers made bioinformatics easier now than it was previously? So most exciting moment as a researcher, Chen, and then, has advances in computer technology made your job easier?
So first thing is actually the most exciting thing, as I said, is actually I see that my stuff has been used by other groups, other colleagues. So they use my software database, they found something interesting and they test them and they publish them. So this is really rewarding thing and also exciting as well. I also found, as I said, I also found telling people about scientific stories is also very exciting, especially when I found that, they understand when I'm talking. Yeah, that's fantastic. For the second question, I personally use a MacBook Pro, to be honest. I didn't really, I stopped using Windows. Sorry for Windows users. I stopped using Windows since I came here, just because it's not personal preference, it's just because my lab been using Mac a lot. So I think probably have to change to Mac. Again, no, please don't take it as offense. I love Windows as well. But I do, yes, as a scientific research, if you do bioinformatics, yes, if you invest into technologies that can help you a lot. For example, we are now developing a lot of deep learning based algorithms. If you know what deep learning is, it's kind of a neural network thing, artificial neural network thing. It's actually used sometimes if you have GPUs, for example, it's going to significantly accelerate the whole process. So that's why the investment is totally worth it. But for normal analysis, I would say, normal computers would do the most of the job. But if you do want to explore something really fascinating, like a deep learning and something else, definitely the investment totally worth it.
That was genuinely a really interesting question. I had not considered processing power and how it could help advanced research. That's genuinely really quite interesting. Also, quite surprising as well that you use MacBooks. Macs, sorry. I honestly would assume it'd be Windows, but sorry, we won't hold it against you.
Yeah, sure.
Amazing. Thank you for that. All right. And we do have one last question from Els. Has most of the data you've worked with been from your own lab's tests or data from huge data sets from a bunch of different people?
That's actually a great question. That's a very professional question. I
question.
think maybe because we work actually both. So we basically for normal bioinformatics studies, when we wanted to get a data set to build our models, definitely we want to search the public data set first. So by public, I mean, so the data set has been published by different groups. So you collect as many as you can so that you can have a good data set to build your model. But more importantly, nowadays, we are actually using more of our lab in-house data as well. So that can be a really good supplement, a good addition to your current research. For example, you have a model, you have a fantastic bioinformatics model built on public data set, and now, because your lab is it's professional, it has a professional background of this type of topic, you can grab some data from your own lab and test your model additionally. That can be a really, really good add-on to for the strengthen your paper. So in short, I use both, but these two different type of data from other people from our lab can serve different purposes.
Awesome. And I reckon we can squeeze in one more here. I noted one earlier from Infinite Aura, who asked more specifically around triple negative breast cancer. Chen says, so is triple negative cancer cells like an evolution of what the cancer originally was? Is that caused by genetic variation, or is it because of some of different chemicals in our body or chemicals we consume?
This is a really good question because we actually haven't totally figured out the cause. What is called the carcinogenesis, or is called the cause of the cancer, cause of breast cancer at the moment. So definitely we would say genetics is one of the big reasons. And also we would say we haven't figured out any environmental contributing factors at the moment. So we don't know, actually, to be honest. But it's actually a part of the research I published several years ago. It points out that a lot of cancers, like they analyze a pan cancer cell lines. So basically, they analyze different type of cancers and sequence them and go all the mutations. And they do found that mutation is the biggest contributing factor to cancer. So I would hypothesize that environmental factor is one of the factors, but we don't really have a clear evidence at the moment. But I would say genetics, on the other hand, is definitely a thing. So if you do have family history, definitely like other breast cancer types, I think a early intervention, an earlier diagnosis, earlier visit to the doctor is definitely recommended.
Definitely. And I think, with so many ways cancer can form, it just highlights why we need to be funding more brilliant researchers like yourself.
I would say that generally, in terms of all the cancer types, the earlier that you found the cancers, the better prognosis you will have. That's for sure. Even this is also true for triple negative breast cancer as well. Different type of triple negative breast cancer have different success survival rates. The highest would be what is called the regional or the localized. So localized means that it doesn't spread to any part of your body. So the survival rate is quite high, like 70-ish or 90-ish. But the lowest one would be the distant triple negative breast cancer. It means that the cancer cell has spread to very far away from your breast. So if that is the case, then the survival rate is quite low. So taken together, the earlier that you find cancer, the better prognosis you will have. That's always true.
100%. Yeah. Awesome. Well, we're coming to the tail end of the stream. Before we wrap, obviously, I just want to do a couple of more reminders. Thank you to everyone again who has donated as part of this stream. Obviously, this is our very first Game on Cancer Day campaign. And for this 2023 iteration, all fundraising for this campaign will support Dr. Chen Li's work. You can donate to the campaign, !GOCD in the chat. We'll take you to the Tiltify page. We also have an auction happening, !auction, and you can bid on some amazing prizes donated by our incredible partners. Alex, if you want to throw up the amazing Call of Duty light donated by Kings of Neon again, that would be incredible.
Absolutely. Let me just flick on over. This is the wonderful light that Kings of Neon have so kindly lent me to show it off in my stream room here. It is absolutely gorgeous. It is so large. It is genuinely like the most magnificent piece I think I've ever seen. So if you want to bid for that, the auction link is in the chat at the moment. Ooh, sorry, I accidentally muted myself. That wouldn't be a stream if there wasn't tech issues, of course. But yes, it's absolutely gorgeous. Jump into chat and have a look at the auction link there to find out more about it.
100%. If you'd like to learn more about Dr. Chen Li's work or any of the other researchers that Cure Cancer is funding this year and the researchers we've funded in the past, the website is curecancer.com.au, so you can read up more about all of the researchers that we're funding this year. Yeah, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Chen. I'll give you one last opportunity to, if there's anything you would like to say to the Game on Cancer community, now is your chance.
Thank you again for the privilege. I'm thrilled. Actually, it's my big pleasure to introduce my life, my research, my daily life in front of the public, and this is really nice to communicate with you guys. I hope that I made several of your questions clear. And if you are interested in understanding more, just feel free to let me know. You can send it to my email. I think we have that contact on the website. I'm not quite sure about that, but yeah, but definitely, if you are interested, you can email me at chen.li@monash.edu. So I'm happy to answer all these questions that you have. And thank you very much for all the donations. It is your donation that make our science moving forward, that make our science getting better and better. And it's also your donation that make our biomedical research in Australia to the top of the world. So thank you so much. And I hope everyone can have a fun gaming weekend and a healthy life.
It's our absolute pleasure, and the fact that we get to support you via a hobby and an interest that all of us here in chat love so much is just is an absolute joy. So, Alex, is there anything you wanted to note before we close out the stream? I will quickly say that if you guys in chat have enjoyed this conversation, it's obviously the first time that we've done something like this. I myself have just been wrapped by being able to learn more about Dr. Chen Li's work. So please join our Discord, give us some feedback. This VOD will live on our YouTube channel as well, Game on Cancer on YouTube. We'll highlight it here on the Twitch channel as well, so you can still check it out also and see the chat. Yeah, Alex, is there anything you want to say or anything I've missed?
I think you've done a great job covering everything. I just wanted to say a big thank you personally to Dr. Chen Li for joining us today as well. And if you in chat are interested in this weekend, in the Game on Cancer Day weekend, make sure you do follow our socials. We will be live essentially the whole weekend, retweeting the creators who are going to be live with Game on Cancer Day. So if you are interested in supporting some of your favorite creators doing that, please do check us out there as well. But I believe that's everything. And I just really appreciate you taking the time today to join us, Dr. Chen.
Thank you, Alice. Thank you, Shane, for having me.
Of course, definitely. All right. Well, we will look at wrapping this up now. And I again want to say thank you again for joining us. We will definitely be doing more of these live streams as well. But thank you again. And we will catch you guys next time. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Have a nice day.
Everyone.
Bye.
Bye.